Nothing gets me more excited than when I am having a good session. You've got a Metallica going, yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest time of my life. But sometimes you're like, you know what? It's just not working for me today. Simon the Bodybuilding here. Thank you for joining me as always on this very, very hot Saturday. And today we are going to be talking about the things that you do in the gym, I do in the gym, your great uncle John does in the gym. And yet we don't talk about it, mostly because it's embarrassing. So yeah, here's 10 secret gym fails that nobody ever talks about. Number 10, listening to a funny podcast. Now don't pretend you don't do it, because I know people have done it, because I've done it, and I've talked to other people that have done it. But sometimes you're in the fitness palace of love, and you just don't want to listen to music. I don't know why. I'm a big fan of metal. Nothing gets me more excited than when I am having a good session. You've got a Metallica going, yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest time of my life. But sometimes you're like, you know what? It's just not working for me today. So you whack on a podcast. Now, this is fine. Do not whack on a funny podcast. I have probably only done this 10 times throughout my gym life. And I've been training for, 20 years or whatever it is. It always goes bad. Like, it happened to me this week, mostly. This is why I thought of this list video. And I was listening to The Laps Fan, which is a wrestling podcast. And they were doing Hulk Hogan impressions. And they were acting like Hulk Hogan thought that his house had been bugged. And he freaked out and he rang WCW trying to get help. And I was in the middle of squats. I kid you not. And these, I've just recently gone back to the gym after my injury. So these were relatively heavy squats for me. Thankfully, none that would have, killed me or anything. And I was halfway, I was like, what am I doing? And because obviously I've got Siri attached to my headphones, I'm going like, it's going to happen now. You're going to have to ignore this stuff. But I'm like, hey Siri, shut up. Hey Siri, go away. Turn off the podcast. And it wouldn't listen to me for some reason. And because I've got headphones in, I'm probably screaming this out in the gym. People are like, dude, what are you doing? This goes against etiquette. But, I kind of liked it at the end of the day. It completely ruined my set, and I was an absolute abomination, and I was properly embarrassing. But them's the breaks, don't do it. That also ties into number 9, which is when your headphones die. Now, this used to be that you forgot to bring your headphones. That was basically a gym meme for years. But in 2022, we've evolved. Technology has moved forward. And now, your damn headphones have a battery pack. So sometimes you go into the gym, you're like, oh, look, I've got loads of battery power. 72%. That will last for ages. But once again, because these devices can lie to you, you will be training and your headphones will die. And if you wear sort of AirPods, one goes, doo. So you only have it in one ear. And that's even worse. Because then your balance is all off. Like if you're back to doing squats, you're probably doing it like this. And it does suck. And it can ruin your session. So I thought, I want to come on here today and I want to talk about it. Because I think a problem shared is a problem halved. So now next time you're in the gym and you don't have headphones, you're secretly like, man, I think I like training with that music or a funny podcast. Other people agree. Number 8 is going too light. Now we all talk about going too heavy. You set up the bench press and you go to give it a rep and you get to about here and you're like, I'm in a lot of trouble. But now he talks about going too light, which is equally as amusing. We all use the bench press again, because maybe you're just having a day where you don't feel particularly strong. So you put on a lesser weight, but you think, oh, I still think it's going to kick my ass. And then you take it off and you go, foot, and you're like, wait a minute, that was way too easy. And then you find yourself in this moral quandary where you're like, okay, do I just do about 14 reps and maybe do slow reps and focus on time of detention and range of motion, and then just pretend this is what I meant to do? Or should I just re-rack it, hope that nobody notices, and maybe put on another 10 or another 15? It's not so bad with bench because you can go, oh, I've got it, oh, it's not enough. But again, when you do something like squats, where you're already halfway down, you're like, well, now I've got to go back up again. It truly is a puzzle that all of a sudden presents itself to you. And there's no answer. You'll never be able to come up with an answer, because if you give up the set, you feel like a failure. And if you do it, you feel like you wasted your time. Number 7 is mistiming your pre-workout, because it has happened to all of us. We are driving to the gym, we are walking to the gym, and every single pre-workout on the back says, hey, take 35 to 45 minutes beforehand. So we treat this like a science. We go beep, beep on our watches and we drink it and go, right, 45 minutes from now. And then what happens? Maybe there's a traffic jam. Maybe the gym is closed. Maybe just something stops you from getting an important phone call. Oh, sorry, but I'm stuck down a well. You're like, no, I've taken my pre-workout. And this goes as far. Now, I'm not going to lie, this wasn't me. This was a friend of mine, but it's still funny. I got a text message one day as his Mill, I've taken my pre-workout, but now I can't train. Am I going to die? I went, yep. Of course you're not going to die. Of course you're going to be okay. But you do have these things rushing through your head. Like, do I have to use this? Do I have to do something energetic? What do I have to do to ensure that somehow I get the most out of this supplement? All it is a stimulant. All it's going to do is sort of flush through your system eventually. But people melt down over this. They melt down. And some people even say, it ruined my damn day. Number 6 is training on a full stomach. Now, I've talked about this in other videos and more about the science behind it, but it also sucks Like, I guess it's a mistiming thing again. So you eat, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh no, I've got to go to the gym, the Fitness Palace of Love, way sooner than I thought I've done otherwise. And you're so sluggish and you feel sick. And the reason this is happening is because think how much you're asking of your brain and your body. You're telling your brain, right, here's a bunch of food, digest it. You're then taking the stimulant and saying, right, I now need you to get all pumped up. And then you're saying, oh, can we push ourselves to our physical limit? Your brain will go, no, you absolute jabroni. How many things do you think I can do all at once? And usually what it will do, for obvious reasons, is prioritize your digestion, because it needs to clear all that stuff. It needs to get it out of the stomach, so you will have a crappy workout, and it absolutely sucks. And I don't think people do talk about this enough. I think this should be on a massive no-nos of things to do. Never train with a full stomach. I mean, for starters, you're going to get bloated, which sucks, but also it hampers your progress like nothing else. Number 5 is falling over. Now, I think there's 2 specific exercises this relates to, and number 1 is the Bulgarian split squat, and number 2 is the lunge. Now, every routine and every program is going to be different, but these 2 exercises usually come in the middle of a program. So you may do some squats, you may do some leg press, then you're going on to do your Bulgarian split squat, and then maybe you're going to do a lunge. Now, I would say it's lesser with the lunge, although I tell you, sometimes my legs have been so pooped, I've just gone whoop, and down I go. But with the Bulgarian split squat, when you're doing it with dumbbells, and you've got to put one foot on the bench and the other foot on the floor, tell you, man, this happens, and don't pretend it hasn't happened to you. I'm going down, I'm like, no, I've not pitched this right, and I kind of do that weird stumble thing off onto the side, and people look at you like, what are you doing? Did you just like do some kind of moonwalk around the gym? I'm like, yeah, I did. But this happens, and there's nothing to be embarrassed about, because think about what you're doing here. Not only are you taking your body weight, you're adding external weight, and then you're trying to balance yourself on a bench. How is that meant to be easy? And I would say that's the case for all of the gym. Oh, can you just pick up this bar and thrust it above your head? That's not something you're doing every single day unless you're an athlete or a fireman or something. So I think we need to double down on this stuff. If you fall over in the gym, it just means you're doing it right. Number 4 is the crap pull-up. This one again ties into my return to the gym. I used to be able to smash out like 12 to 15 pull-ups raw, like, you know, just go blah, blah, blah. Pretty easy. Obviously, I've lost that after not training for a while. I know it's going to come back. But I went to do one the other day. I got like maybe 3/4 of one out. And then the second one was an absolute disaster. And I felt it. I felt it in my tum-tum. I was super embarrassed. I thought that was terrible. That absolutely sucked. And I looked around and I realized the gym was empty. And yet it didn't help. Number 3 is blocking someone else while they're trying to use the mirror. Usually when this happens, it's an accident, right? You want to use a bench and someone just happens to be training in front of you. Be like, well, this is where the bench lives, or a squat rack is probably a better example. So I've got to do it. But how awkward is that interaction, right? You both hate each other. If you're squatting, you would like to use the mirror because it's good at ensuring you keep your back in the right place and doing good form. But the person who is situated closer to the mirror, maybe doing bicep curls or lateral raises or whatever it is, is also trying to focus on their form, but let's not pretend otherwise, is also probably having a great time because it's like, oh man, look at my bicep. Oh man, look at my deltoid. And you fall out over it. No word has ever been said. No argument has ever been had. No debate has ever been struck up. But deep down, both of you like, would you please get out of the way of my mirror? It doesn't make any sense. Do not forget, too, there's a weird, I don't know what the right word would be, but this idea on the internet that the reason there's so many gyms in mirrors, other way around, mirrors in gyms, is because everyone that goes to the gym is a massive egomaniac. No, it's there, again, so you can concentrate on your form and don't do anything to break you. Now, do people use it to preen? Of course they do, but that's why this breaks down when it happens, because you do have 2 people that are trying to watch their form. They also want to see their big bulging muscles, and it's a fail. There's no 2 ways about it. It's an absolute fail, because you're meant to be focusing on your lift, and instead you're just getting mad. Number 2 is walking through somebody's shot. Now, I've only put this in because the fail isn't the person walking through the person's shot. The fail is the person doing the filming to begin with. I got no problem with people using their phone in gyms. I've got no problem with people filming in gyms. I get it, right? Instagram, I'm doing it right now. YouTube, whatever it may be. It's become a culture. It's become a thing to do, and some people make their living off of it. However, if I want to get to the 14s, and you have happened to set up your camera by the 14s, No. Especially when you're not mid-set. Maybe that's a little bit different if I can figure it out. But when you're sat there and you've left the camera rolling and then I walk through, the priority is always lifting weights. And the priority is also always sets, and the priority is always reps. No gym ever, no member I want to be of a gym ever, will prioritize, if somebody is filming, you're not allowed to get to equipment, because that would be bollocks and probably is illegal. I don't know why it'd be illegal, I've just made that up, but it certainly would be against my rules. So that's the gym fail. You're allowed to film as much as you want, but if somebody cuts off your shot, you ain't allowed to get mad at them. And number 1 is the fart. Yep, it has to go in there because, you know, I've done it and I get embarrassed and I hear other people doing it, but I don't get embarrassed for them because what I like to do is act like nothing has happened because I understand how awful it is in that moment. Usually happens during squats, deadlifts, you know, other kind of big lifts you're doing where there's some sort of squat or, you know, something like that involved. But I think it's important to talk about, right? You're going to pop from nowhere and it's going to be awful. And it goes back to sort of the things we were talking about. You're probably going to have headphones in, so you'll have no idea how loud it is. But if somebody is a true gym veteran and a true long-time Fitness Palace of Love user, they will understand. So I promise you have nothing to worry about, even though I know these words won't help you, because they've never helped me. Now, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the bell ding ding so that it's going live. There will be another video on the screen. Please do give it a click. And, of course, spam the comment section and let me know what you think. Otherwise, grillofmine.com/Simon. You can Simon get 10% off in Greg Doucette's Power 13 cookbook. Patreon.com/Simon316 for exclusive reaction videos. On Cameo, simonmiller.bigcartel.com for Patreon. Use code 50OFF50 off to get 50% off. I know, well, I never saw it coming. Otherwise, though, have a great weekend. See you soon.